Hi guys, and welcome to another lyrical breakdown with me, your lady friend Bonnie. I'm happy to be here. I hope you are happy to be here. How's your new year going? Are you sticking to your resolutions? Are you not? Did you just not make any? I just wanted to say hey. So this week I'm doing a requested song that somebody left in the comments, and you can leave any songs that you want in the comment section down below, and I may or may not choose to do it. But this week it's definitely one, and it is MF Grimm's Life and Death lyrical breakdown, and this comes from The Downfall of Iblis. I don't know if I'm saying that right. A ghetto opera. So this came out, as far as I could see, January 12th, 2002. But again, I keep finding like conflicting dates for things. So I don't know like what it is, but like somebody's got to know what the accurate date is. But that's what I found to be like the most accurate, I think. And it's got a really cool like sounding kind of album name. Like it's pretty interesting, like a ghetto opera. It's probably something that I was thinking, well, just after listening to this song a few times, it's pretty good. It seems like something or someone that we should definitely look into, maybe for a classic quest sometime. So if you guys definitely want to see that, say that down below. So yeah, I definitely think it's really cool, and it's produced by MF Doom, who we've seen a few times already before, and so yeah, he's definitely has like an interesting style, and his kind of like grimy, like underground sort of feeling definitely kind of reflects that as well, like that they're kind of like similar artists. So it's pretty cool to listen to, or at least this song is anyways. I haven't listened to the whole album. So yeah, and this guy, he's pretty interesting. When I was like reading about like what he's been up to, here I'll just like read to you what it was that he did. So in his like childhood, his like neighbor, he grew up in the Upper West Side section of Manhattan, and his neighbor Morgan Freeman helped get him a role on Sesame Street, and he did it a couple of times. So I thought that was like really cool, and like, I don't know, he just seemed like a cool guy. He always seemed to be in like the right place at the right time, it seems, from everything else that I was reading. Well, I mean, minus a few times where he kind of got himself into some trouble that I read about, that he was like expelled from his high school for having like beat up like the dean over like him owing him drug money or something. Like that's pretty hardcore. So that's who we're dealing with today. But yeah, I mean, really interesting. And like I said, I think he went on tour with MC Lyte in the 90s. He was around for a long time. Like I think he was like performing in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, like still today, I think. If I'm not mistaken. I don't know if he's still doing anything today. But yeah, I also wanted to read something about this album that I pulled off of Wikipedia, so bear with me if you... So it's in 2001, MF Grimm recorded the debut album, The Downfall of Iblis, a ghetto opera, while on bail after his prison sentencing. The entire album was recorded during a 24-hour period and featured productions and appearances from Count Bass D and MF Doom. And yeah, I mean, it just sounds like pretty cool. Like he was just out of jail. He just wanted to like record it right away. And yeah, I guess he had a lot to say, like fresh out of jail. So again, that's like another like reflection while listening to this entire album. If you choose to do that, or in something I think that we should definitely do. I would like to see more what this guy sounds like, or listen to it, I guess. So anyways, enough of me jibber jabbering. Let's get into the actual lyrical breakdown. We will not be playing the full song due to like copyright and whatever else, but here is a clip of it now.
To drink and eat up, I'm scheming like a demon on the couch with my feet up, pay-per-view.
So that was that. Let's get into MF Grimm's song. So it starts off with a little intro. Hold on to her. If you really love her, hold on to her. If you really love her, hold on to her. It's pretty straightforward. If you love something, if you cherish something, protect it, hold on to it, don't let it go. That's pretty much it. So let's get into the verse, because there's just one, and it's a biggin. So here we go. Her name was Life, loyal, would never do me wrong. wants the best for me. She was a beautiful song. A schoolgirl, mastered biology, taught me everything. She holla holla at me. Beyond visual, totally internal. Trees, bees, birds, words, verbs, nouns. Took walks in the park. She was sweet, but at times hard knock. Till I met death. She took the last breath of me. I met her through her cousin's sleep. To the left, to the right, she went both ways. Yes, chasing her was chasing Amy. So there's a lot to unpack there. And like also I just wanted to say as well, the beat and like the sound is really cool. I enjoyed it a lot. It's definitely like one that I did not mind listening to over and over and over again. It was always kind of fun to kind of like jam to, even if I like put it on like kind of low volume and just kind of did my work over it. So I thought that was really cool. So anyways, so right away we know that this is a story that's being told, and it's about this girl named Life. And it's like a metaphor, and you know, so obviously there's like something going on, so you decide. So Life is loyal, and she will always try to be there and like have your back, right? That's kind of what he's saying. And like she only wants him to succeed and do his best. And then he described her as a schoolgirl, so she's kind of like young and innocent, still with like this desire to learn and like educate and grow, which is often, you know, it's kind of something that you should be doing in life, I guess. So, you know, you should constantly be growing and, you know, learning. And she's also like the master of biology. And I just wanted to point out, this is not my fact. This is somebody on Genius that had pointed out that bios is Greek for life. So that makes total sense that she's into life. And, you know, kind of like the school of life, kind of you're learning. And it's just this constant thing that you just keep going on with. So she taught him everything from nature to English language. Life is kind of like a walk in the park, so it's kind of an easy and it's enjoyable, and there's kind of a lot to see and like, you know, be involved with, and kind of describes how life can behave, how sometimes she can be sweet and loving, and sometimes kind of like just nonstop difficult, you know, when you have like a depressing time or when, you know, bad things just keep happening or whatever. So then he meets this girl named Death, so she's obviously, you know, kind of what you expect, and she takes his last breath away, and that's kind of like literally what like death does, and it kind of reminded me of the Dementors from Harry Potter, if you like that kind of stuff. Yeah, and so I kind of like the play on words and like the expressions that he's kind of like using and playing with. It really, like, the whole thing was like really, really well thought out and like well put together. I really like this. So, and because he says like sleep is the cousin of death. And that's, you know, like I said, it's another expression. And death travels everywhere. And chasing death, he kind of compares to chasing Amy, or like the whole kind of plot, I guess, of chasing Amy, where he's kind of like the character, Silent Bob, is confessing his, he kind of gives like the speech or whatever. He's just kind of like, I guess it's a sort of monologue, where he kind of explains that chasing Amy is, you know, he pushed the love of his life away, and so now, and because he was like immature and he wasn't ready to like go out with her, or I guess it was because of like the number of guys that she'd slept with or something, and it just means that so now he's just like chasing the love of his life, and he realizes that she was it now, but it's too late, and so he's always going to be looking for that girl, but no one's ever going to compare to her. So it's kind of what he's saying, you know, it's always calling you, but you never like get to it, you know. So that's kind of what he's describing it as. Took me to the edge, told me jump with her. I was hypnotized, so I jumped with her because I wanted her, confronted her. Between the sheets, I messed with her. Life paging me, want me to mess with her. Don't feel like being stressed with her. She wants to walk in the park. I want to run the streets. I'm acting real cold. She's giving off heat. She'd rather see me get a diploma. I go check out my homegirl coma. So he went to the edge, and he kind of jumped with death, kind of like maybe that he fell for her and or whatever. Like, I think that's kind of like what he's saying here, and that she was very seductive, kind of like a deadly sin, which we kind of like see a little bit more later on. And then he kind of lusts after her and kind of says that they messed around and were in bed together. And he gets pages like on his like pager, which you know, kind of reminding him that she's still around and that she still wants him, and it's just kind of like this little beep. But it also kind of reminded me of the sound that beepers or pagers made when, you know, when they would go off, and it kind of reminds me of, you know, like what you see in like the 90s anyways, like, or in movies, like the beeping of like the heart machine. But from like my experiences at hospitals, usually it's just on silent, like there's not really any beeping, but that's just me. And yeah, so life is stressing him out too much, and he can't be bothered with her because I guess she's maybe clingy or a little bit more needy. And life wants to go to the park and to like nature, and he just wants to go to the cold, hard streets. And then he's kind of talking about the temperatures as well. And when you're cold, you're dead. And that's kind of what he's describing himself as. He's kind of getting sucked into like that side of things, I guess, of life. And when when your body's giving off heat, you're still alive. So that's a good thing. And life wants him to be smart and to get an education, but he doesn't really care. And then he goes and sees Coma, and we will learn about her right about now. So Coma and I have a cool relationship. She give me keys to the crib and don't ask me for shit. Stack the fridge for me to drink and eat up. I'm scheming like a demon on the couch with my feet up. Pay for view, a championship bout. Main event didn't start, so I slipped right out. I called life from the payphone. She's chewing me out. She sensed that I'm cheating the way I'm moving about. So now we're hearing about like Coma and his like relationship, and it's really interesting like the way he kind of describes her, I think. And it's kind of like to the T a little bit. So it's kind of like a relaxed life, and she's kind of easygoing, and she gives him like all that he needs, but like isn't really around too much. So, and then kind of allows him to be gluttonous and sloth-like a little bit, because he just like, you know, which are more sins, and it's just kind of feeding into it. He's not really sure what he's, you know, which side of things that he wants to choose. And he can kind of plot while he's like lounging on the couch. And the big fight hasn't started yet. And I think that that's the fight for life or death in a coma. I think that's what he's kind of talking about. And then he calls life, and she's yelling at him for lying, and realizes he's cheating, not loyal like she is, you know, like she's described as. Yep, so let's keep going. Applying from the streets is what you're trying to be. You're sleeping around, stop lying to me. Life, you know you act like a bitch, right? Then we just die, that's why I get high. And she said, my love, you try to deny, but please give me a try. But death's a fiend, public places having sex with me. The streets are watching, I stay hard when she's next to me. We don't lose those hoes before we lust. She introduced me to her girlfriend, and off I bust. So, she's basically acting, or she says that he's acting low, like he's out on the streets, and she knows that, you know, he's cheating and he's not being faithful. And then he kind of says like the life's a bitch and then you die. And I think that that's kind of, you know, he's from like New York. So I think that that's definitely a nod to Nas. And then life's begging him to trust her love, and to like be with her. But he obviously likes the more adventurous types. And, you know, death is a little bit more kinky, a little bit more adventurous, and then, you know, introduces her to a friend. And then so like it's, you know, it's a cool sexy thing because it's just more lust. So it's a menage a trois. We must constantly together. Fuck the world. Criminology is what she taught me. Feels so nice. Giving blowjobs in her mouth of glaciers of ice. I act up cause I'm backed up with virginous life. Won't give it up till I make her my wife. Life want it all. I just can't win. Traveled back to Coma house. Then I slipped back in. Coma, love me, lady sexy as can be. She look into my eyes and asks what's troubling me. which we will find out. So, he's with Death, and they're having three-ways, and they're just like, up to all kinds of crazy sex or whatever. And I thought that maybe like the three was like the Holy Trinity, like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, or the Holy Spirit. It depends on which one, but I don't think that's likely here. I was just trying to like figure out like, oh, maybe this is it, but I don't think it is. So they're causing destruction and pain and causing crimes, and they're really just like doing like all the bad things, just like sin or like the devil is kind of like pulling you to do. So sucking the soul out of him through fellatio, if I'm not mistaken. Well, I guess I'm not mistaken. He clearly says a blowjob. And it's cold because she's like death, and yeah, it's dead. She's dead, right? And Life is a virgin, so she's pure, and she's kind of like Mary, and she says that she won't have sex with him until they're married. So in the, legal in the eyes of God, and, the whole thing is like, okay. So, she's like a good girl, and he finds it very, it's difficult to be with her. Like he almost can't do it, and he's not really sure. And that's why he's, there's a lot of back and forth because, he can have all this fun and adventures with, Death, but, Life is a little bit more serious, and, So then he goes back to Coma's place, and I like that whenever he's talking about, coming and going from Coma's place, he's always slipping in and slipping out, and like you often hear, if I guess doctors or doctor shows or whatever, people are slipping in and out of comas. So I think that that's kind of cool that he uses that terminology. And she's seductive and she's sexy, and he likes her a lot. And he seems to be unsure who to choose kind of between life and death. And she is also kind of like a symbol, like in this song especially, of not being in the middle, of being in limbo, not being able to like choose like, which side is the one that you want to do. If you want to live, if you want to like put the effort into living, or if you just want to like fuck around and probably die. Like those are your choices. So let's keep going. Powers beyond are humbling me. Gotta pick one. So which one will it be? Women like death is all around the world, she said. Life is wonderful, a hell of a girl. She wants to share the world, give you all that she can. Death's a freak, slept with every damn man. Life's got your back, she's picking you up. Death packs the gat, straight sticking you up. Life can't live without you, she's bigging you up. But put life after death, cops are digging you up. So this is kind of like her warning, right? So, and she says like, or he's just kind of like saying he can't pick one. He doesn't know who to pick. And Coma just kind of points out that death is common. She's, it's easy to come by to get her. But like life is such a catch, and she's loving and she's wonderful. And death slept with all these men. While, life is a virgin, and she'll take care of you, and death is dangerous with a loaded gun, but life can't survive without you, so you have to, like, make that choice, and if you choose death, basically you're going to end up dead, and the police will be the ones that will be scraping up your body off of the sidewalk or whatever. Like, it's unfortunate. So life is precious. She's one of a kind. Choosing death over life, you lost your mind. Life is the one for you, no doubt. Main event was over, so I broke the hell out and called life back. How silly I've been. I took her for granted when she's been my best friend. Nothing lasts forever. One day it will end, but I'll remain loyal until then. Mentally strong, she would carry me. Got down on my knee. Life, marry me. I feel so blessed because she said yes. So life, we all know that life is very precious. It is, something that can just slip away instantly when you least expect it, I guess. So Coma thinks that he's crazy if he chooses death. So, which he would be. And he's obviously meant to choose life. And the main event, which again, I think means like when like the coma either decides to wake up or doesn't, I guess. And I think that this point, and I don't know if like his decision like affects like Coma like actually like in this song, but he chooses life, and he's kind of like, duh, like obviously like how stupid have I been, like you know, boys, and and goes to her and proposes, and she says yes. So he's, you know, super excited. They're both very happy. It's a lovely scene. So now I gotta break it off with Death. Tell her the right way, don't provoke her, because how she's living, mi vida loca. I spoke to her, but she didn't listen. Straight face like poker, a joke to her. She think I'm bluffing, but I'm not. Things get hot. As I leave her spot, she pulls a gun out and says it's not over. So this is how this ends. So now he's chosen life, and he has to like dump Death, and he has to do it carefully. And he's, you know, because she's basically a crazy bitch is what he says. And he tried speaking rationally to her, but that didn't work. And then she thinks that, you know, he's just joking and he's lying and it's not true. But then, you know, she realizes that it is when he like gets up to like leave, and then she pulls out a gun on him, which is expected, right? And then says it's not over. So either she's going to kill him or she's going to keep him. So one way or another, it's not over. So yeah, and then we have the outro, and it just says, fatal attraction, actions alter my mind state, meet your fate, because up goes the death rate. So that's pretty much the end of the song. And yeah, and then it's just kind of like, and at the end, you know, it's just death, and, you know, all these things that lead to death just seem like fun and dangerous, but life is about like choosing to be smart and like making like the right choices and being where you need to be. It's obviously making the right choice. And if you choose to do all of these dangerous things, then it will only increase death's numbers, because you're, you know, if you do crazy and dangerous things, inevitably some of you will die. So the more people that do it, the more people will die. So that's pretty much the song. I thought it was pretty interesting. It's not really like he wants to necessarily die, but I think that he is obviously struggling with it, but in like a really creative and relatable way. I think everybody can kind of understand like this issue. Maybe not like relatable and having like two girls at once, but you know, some people do. And yeah, anyways, it was a really great choice, you know, as a suggestion. I really love this song. I think it was really cool. How it was just like one long continuous verse where he's just telling this story, and I think that that's always like nice to listen to. And it definitely has a clear story and message. It's in the title. It's in like their names. He's not trying to hide anything. It's very open. So there wasn't really too much for me to break down besides kind of like what he's talking about, and just kind of like, it was more just being impressed with like the words that he was using and the rhymes. I thought that it was really cool. Like the whole flow of it was really interesting. Yeah, and I think that this isn't like the first time that we've heard like a topic like this. You know, I can think of, you know, DMX Damien and even Zero's Greed. Like it had a similar theme. It may not be like the exact same thing, but kind of like that choice of like, do you want to make the good choice to like do better in life, or do you want to go to hell, or like kind of have like the devil, or do you want to die? Like it's pretty similar themes, and I think that that's kind of showing overall that, you know, if this is common in rap or if it's common in music, that this is what a lot of people are suffering with, and especially in like these places where you know, a lot of these rappers are from. It's, you know, there's hard times, and I think that a lot of people are experiencing that and have dealt with it and are continuing to deal with it, and like there's death and there's violence and there's gangs and there's drugs and there's suicide and there's everything else. So I think that that's in jail, of course. So yeah, there's a lot that makes it difficult for people to like want to live for, I guess, sometimes. But I think that there is, you know, you do get tempted sometimes to like take like the shadier route and the easier route almost, that just seems more fun and adventurous, but in the end it doesn't get you anywhere except dead. But then so does life. So your choice, but we will all end up dead. But yay, we'll do it together. So I will end this I'll end this video on that note. So I would like to say thank you to our patrons. So that's Lindell Williams, Super Old School 1994, Chris Prado, and Ismail Gadamsi. If you guys definitely want to hear any more about that and different ways that you can support us, you can check that out down below. And don't forget, you can definitely leave song suggestions down below and I will take them seriously, and I may end up doing one that you suggested. So thanks guys. You can follow me on Twitter and I will see you next week. Bye.